My name is Jason Velasco, and I'm one of the advisors at the eDiscovery advisory team. Curiosity is defined as a strong desire to know and learn something. So please join me on my learning quest in this episode of Out of Curiosity. So today I want to introduce our guest, Katie Perekslis with TransPerfect Legal Solutions. Katie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jason. Happy to be here.
Oh, well, I'm glad to have you here. So, as part of our practice as an independent advisor, we spend a lot of time looking at e-discovery providers, e-discovery technologies. And so, one of the things that I wanted to at least have a conversation with you, because kind of what piqued my interest is that I saw that TransPerfect Legal Solutions, or TLS, recently won some awards. So, I was kind of curious about that and wanted to learn a little bit more. So, could you be interested in sharing that with me today? What was the
Yeah,
award?
yeah, absolutely. So the New York Law Journal named us the #1 end-to-end e-discovery provider, as well as the #1 predictive coding solution. So that's really exciting. Particularly exciting for us because the awards are granted by our clients and our users going and voting for us. So it's really a really honor to receive this award.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. You guys have spent a lot of time, kind of, putting together this approach. So, I guess tell me a little bit about TransPerfect Legal Solutions. I saw that one of the awards was around being an end-to-end service provider. But what does end-to-end mean to you and TLS?
Yeah, so formally, end to end would mean providing all the services across the EDRM,
Hmm.
all the way from, litigation readiness and information governance to preservation and collection, processing, hosting, document review, production, deposition services,
Hmm.
language services as it relates to litigation, et cetera. But I think more informally and more importantly, for us, it means being a partner to our clients and being a consultant and an advisor. Not just a button pusher, but really understanding the goals that they have and helping guide them through the whole process. So,
Right.
as early as being involved in custodian interviews and making sure that the right questions are being asked to identify the right data sources, through advising on strategies to call the data before it moves into review, to the most efficient document review process, being a consultant in the multilingual space, making sure that all the language considerations are taken into consideration. And I think that to us is what really an end-to-end service provider means, is being consultative throughout the whole process.
Well, I mean, that's very interesting. Actually, Katie, let's maybe backtrack a little bit and tell me a little bit about you in terms of how long you've been with TLS and what is your background? How did you get into the e-discovery game?
Well, naturally, I was a French and gender studies major in college, so obviously eDiscovery, perfect fit.
Exactly.
Um, so really, I started with TransPerfect on the language side because of my French background.
Hmm.
And I came in as a project manager in the legal translation space. And I was managing legal translations, saw a lot of international litigation that way. And then I did that for about 3.5 years. And then about 11 years ago, I moved into the e-discovery space and I came on as our only, relativity project manager.
Mm.
Um, and, then I built out our e-discovery hosting and project management group, and we've now got over 100 project managers in offices all over the world. So we're in all over the U.S., in Canada, in London, in Sydney, in Hong Kong. So it's been a pretty exciting journey to be a part of, and be able to help drive that growth.
Well, I know, like from my perspective, I mean, I've always been a big supportive of a consultative project management approach, and it sounds like that's kind of the approach that you've taken. How do you actually, maintain and identify the right kind of project case managers for your workflow?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think you really hit the nail on the head. I really believe that to be a successful e-discovery project manager, you have to be technically trained and hands-on. I don't think it's possible to truly advise and consult your clients
Hmm.
if you don't understand what the technology is doing and what the
Right.
technology is capable of. Do you need to know how to push every single button and write every single SQL script in the world? No, of course not. But you do need to be able to understand, the benefits of technology assisted review, a little bit about what the magic is in the background, so that you can truly advise your clients. So I think we take kind of a two-pronged approach to training, and one of that is on the technical side and making sure that our project managers have that skill set. And we accomplish that through, we have a dedicated training team. We also have, just on the job training,
Mhm.
and we have an internal RCA training program. Um, we have, I just recently learned one of the highest number of Brainspace certifications. So
Wow.
there's, yeah, that was a pretty cool. I just learned that this week, so that was a pretty cool thing to see. But I think just more than the technical training, and more importantly, and certainly a lot more challenging, is teaching the soft skills. You
Mm.
know, I talk a lot about how our customer service is as important, if not more important, than our technical abilities. A lot of people have either the same or similar tools on the market, but being able to be a consultative and a service focused partner is really important. So we have a client experience team that actually runs some formal trainings, for our client facing team members, including our
Right.
project management group. Our client experience team also conducts routine, regular surveys and interviews with our clients to get more feedback, to help us, be constantly improving the client experience, and
Mhm.
listening to our clients, and responding to that need. And then, beyond that, there's a lot of just sort of less formal one-on-one soft skill training. Um, and you asked, how do we find the right candidates? We actually look for people with customer service backgrounds.
Right, right.
And that might not be in eDiscovery. It could be, making pizzas and serving, waiting tables. Like, that is a great background to work in eDiscovery, because you're still in a high pressure situation. It's time sensitive. You have frustrated customers when things don't go right. And you have to stay calm, and you have to, make your customer happy. And that's, maybe that's not always, it's not always everything goes perfectly every time, because that's just not realistic. It's not life, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I remember way back in the day, like 20 years ago, when we were starting to build what a case manager or project manager in eDiscovery looked like. I mean, I looked at everything from lawyers to PMPs to whatever. But one of the key foundations I looked for was had they worked in food service or retail. I could
Yeah,
work with somebody that has done that, right? So,
exactly. Exactly. I think it's so important. I mean, I waited tables for 4 years back in high school and college. Like, I'm sure that a lot of people who are successful in this industry have that background.
yeah, yeah. It's about humility in many cases. How do you build how do you become client driven from a case
Hmm.
management perspective? Super critical. So I also saw that the other award that you won was the #1 predictive coding provider. So tell me a little bit about TLS's technology stack and your approach to technology.
Yeah. So, let's talk for a minute before we even get into predictive coding and document review.
Hmm.
Um, we have a tool called Digital Reef.
Okay.
It's a tool, it's an ECA and processing tool that TLS acquired 8 years ago. We really saw a need for a big data, strong, fast processing engine,
Hmm.
um, that was also has a user-friendly interface to
Right.
do pre-review analytics, is what we call it,
Right.
or
Right.
ECA. And Digital Reef filled that need, and it really gives us an advantage on the market, just because it's a um, powerful tool that we own, that we can allow our clients to have access to at no additional charge, to perform pre-review analytics. And our
So
clients that are
so it's included in your processing rate, whatever. I'm
right,
not going to get into pricing, of course.
of course
But
not.
just the methodology is that goes into you get that as part of the processing fee.
Yeah, it's just an advantage of working with TLS, and I think what's great about it is our clients who do take the time to engage with that process go from, a standard industry standard 80% call rate to an average of 91, 92% calling.
Wow.
And that's so important because it means we're getting rid of all of the junk early. Um, things like spam emails, industry newsletters, identifying groups of documents that might hit on search terms or might be included in your corpus of data that just have nothing to do with the litigation or investigation at hand.
Hmm.
And that's important because it reduces the size of the hosting. It reduces the number of documents that have to go through human review. And if you're applying something like predictive coding or technology assisted review, it reduces the garbage that's in the analytics set, and it makes the analytics set smarter because
Right.
it's richer, and that's important for being effective and efficient.
Gotcha. And so that's on the processing side. So you said, I heard that you mentioned Brainspace. So and you're
Yes.
pretty, it sounds like a pretty aggressive Brainspace user. So is that kind of your general approach, which is kind of, digital reef and then kind of Brainspace and relativity?
Yes. So we license Relativity. We like it because it is a flexible tool that allows us to build our own customizations into it, and we do have several of those, and I can
Right.
talk about those in a minute. But we use Brainspace as our power behind our technology assisted review, both for predictive coding TAR 1.0, which we're still seeing a high adoption on antitrust,
Mm,
second request type litigation type cases.
right.
Um, and then, on standard cases, the more TAR 2.0 continuous active learning type approach. Um, and we find Brainspace to be pretty effective on both of those. And we
Right.
like that it's directly integrated to Relativity. And obviously, we have a pretty strong user adoption of it, as I mentioned earlier.
Right. So I mean, so your clients are actually getting their hands dirty with the technology. This isn't your case management. They're actually getting when now are they using both Digital Reef and Brainspace as part of their workflow?
Some clients are using Digital Reef and Brainspace. The nice thing about both tools, though, is it allows our project managers to still benefit the client
Right.
from that powerful analytics, even when the client is maybe less um, interested in engaging directly with the technology.
Gotcha.
So, I mentioned, filtering out email domains. We can, provide that list external from the tool if
Hmm.
the client doesn't want to actually log into Digital Reef. And then with Brainspace, the technology assisted review, all the review is conducted in Relativity. So from the reviewer's standpoint, they don't have to learn a new technology,
Hmm.
which is really important. Um, for investigations, clients are definitely engaging directly in both Digital Reef. That's actually really popular for like small internal employee complaint investigations that
Hmm.
never even makes it into a review tool. They just
Right. Right.
conduct it in the ACA tool, pop out the 100 or so documents that are relevant, and call it a day. Um, so that's really nice. And then for more in-depth investigations that more substantive, Brainspace is really powerful for that as well.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see the different approaches. I mean, typically that's what I call is kind of a hybrid provider. You have a mix of your own technology as well as third-party tools from a best of breed perspective. So, I think that do you find that's a differentiator from kind of your competition, or I guess what makes does that approach help you stand out from the pack?
Yes, I mean, I think that what's really important for any provider is flexibility,
Mm,
being able to pivot because new technology is coming out every single day. Look at what's happened since COVID. The whole world has moved remote working, and things like Microsoft Teams and Slack and all of these chat applications have become incredibly popular business tools. And then
hmm.
they're relevant data sources. Text messages has been a large challenge for a lot of our clients for review. So what did we do? We went ahead and built our own text message review tool. We have a way of collecting Slack that presents nicely for review in Relativity.
Hmm.
Text messages, we present them in relativity and bubbles. We can customize. It's a really flexible tool. It customizes how many messages before and after you want to see at the same time. And then we can, produce those still as individual messages, which is what, for example, the DOJ requires. Or we can roll them into a pretty little HTML document that has the nice little bubble format that you're
Gotcha.
used to seeing on an iPhone. So
And you built that into relativity, or is
we
that
did, yeah.
okay?
It's actually a combination of scripts coming out of Celebrate and then
Hmm.
into Relativity.
Oh,
So
interesting. Okay.
it's kind of a customization both on the forensic collection side as well as on the document review side.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. I mean, we were spending a lot of our time ripping through Teams and trying to figure out how all the components work and trying to break that. I mean, it's definitely a big puzzle piece, and I think it's going to challenge the industry. I find it's an opportunity. I don't know about you, but I think it's an opportunity to actually innovate finally. So
Totally, and I think what's next that's coming that hasn't even quite really materialized yet is emoji analysis, and I think that's exciting. That to kind of see how far we've come from scanning boxes of documents or worse, red post-it notes mean privilege, and when you see that red sticky note that fell in the bottom of the box, you got to start all over again.
well, it's a language in itself. I mean, between like GIF analysis. I mean, I was having a conversation. We were a friend of mine. We challenged ourselves to only have a full conversation just using Jiffy. So I mean, it's like, what does that look like from an e-discovery perspective? So, but eventually we'll get there. So, I mean, I want to kind of lean a little bit into because I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't actually talk to you a little bit about your language. Because I mean, you come from both of those worlds of dealing with, multiple languages and it sounds like you guys have some specialization around that area. Could maybe share a little bit about your insight and some best practices around multilingual workflows and translations in an e-discovery case?
Yeah, absolutely. Starts right at the beginning when you get your set of data. You're doing your custodian interviews. You're asking them, do you conduct business in any language other than English? They say no.
Emoji.
Okay. Emoji, right? Sure. And then you ingest that data into your processing tool, and regardless of what the client tells you, you're going to go and you're going to look at the language analysis, and you're going to see that in fact there's a huge spike of German data, because you just don't know what you don't know, right? Client thinks there's nothing in there, but you go in and you find there's actually a bunch of documents in German. So if you're running search terms in English, you're going to miss those documents. So you need to either translate the search terms, and that is a lot more of an art than science.
Yes.
Um, Definitely not an easy process. The way that we do it is the e-discovery person, a translator, and the lawyers involved on the case, because we need the lawyers to understand what they're truly trying to find.
Hmm.
We need a translator to understand the language that it's going into, and we need an e-discovery specialist to understand the syntax and the format and what does it mean. If you're within 5 in English, how many do you need to be within in Chinese or in German? And those numbers are going to be different based on the language,
Hmm.
because the number of words differs per language.
It's definitely a challenge. I mean, and I mean, I was dealing with several clients that were just copying pasting stuff from Google Translate. So I mean, I assume you're not advising that.
I am not. Besides the fact that the Google Translate, is your data is going to Google and they can use it. Even if they delete it, they can still use it for their training and machine learning.
Hmm.
You certainly don't want your client's data going to Google. And then, beyond that, um, you know, machine translation has its place. It certainly can help to cull documents down at the first level. We
Right.
have a proprietary AI machine translation tool that has been compared to Google Translate, and it's actually scored very similar or a little bit better in some languages.
Okay.
And then it's also securely on our own servers behind our own firewall. So it's not going out over the internet or over, out to Google. So that's important. And then beyond that, you have data privacy considerations. If you're doing a matter in the EU and you're sending it to Google Translate in California, that's certainly not appropriate for data privacy concerns. So you need to be thinking about where those servers are.
Right, right. Yeah, it's a big challenge. So, well, Katie, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I think this is very insightful. It's great to learn, and congratulations on your awards. I mean, again, winning #1 predictive coding provider and #1 end to end is a pretty big deal. So, congratulations to you.
No, thank you. We're really excited to have this honor and excited that we're providing good service to our clients. That's what makes us happy at the end of the day.
Well, wonderful. Well, again, congratulations, and here's to a successful 2021 for you and your team.
Thank you. I'm excited about it, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me.
Great, great. Have a great day.
You too.
And